Welcome to the January 15th, 2014, got that right, legislative session of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Trustee Codman?
Present.
Trustee Cazzato?
Present.
Trustee Garrity?
Present.
And Mayor Hanauer.
Present.
We have a special presentation.
We do. Well, this is a very, very exciting experience for us when we can do this every year. We hope to keep this up every year. For those of you who don't know, we have 3 Intel semifinalists this year. And that is very exciting for the whole village to know that the science research department, as it were, of the Ossining High School has prepared and encouraged students to work for 3 years very hard on projects with mentors in the professional field that they choose for their project. So I'm very honored to be able to do this and very proud that we have these students. This year we have 3. And I want to call them up, and I have to warn you in advance that I'm going to ask you to speak a little bit about what it is you do. So, that being the case, I'm going to start with Abby. Why don't you come here? This is Abigail Kamen, who is someone I've known since she was quite small, actually, and she lives in my neighborhood, and I'm particularly proud that Sparta has produced someone of this. I have a proclamation for each of you, and I will read it. This is from the entire board. This is in honor of Abigail Kamen. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining recognizes individuals that have shown exemplary commitment and dedication to the community and acknowledge outstanding service that contributes to the quality of life in Ossining. And whereas Intel Science Talent Search is one of the nation's most prestigious science research contests that encourages students to pursue ambitious scientific questions and develop skills to solve the problems of tomorrow. And whereas Abigail Kamen has been named an Intel Science Talent Search semifinalist for her project titled Determining Cancer Patient Awareness of Cognitive Impairment Secondary to Chemotherapy, under the mentorship of Dr. David Lounsbury and Ms. Rhea Howell. And whereas this is an achievement that requires intelligence, determination, hard work, and commitment, and we wish to recognize this outstanding young woman. Now, therefore, I, William R. Hanauer, Mayor of the Village of Ossining, on behalf of the Board of Trustees and residents of the village, do hereby congratulate Abigail Kamen and urge all of our residents to join us in honoring her, and do proclaim Thursday, January 16th, 2014 as Abigail Kamen Day in the Village of Ossining, and urge all of our residents to join in celebrating that.
So I guess I'll say a little bit about my project. I'm actually looking at chemobrain in breast cancer patients. And chemobrain, what that is the deterioration of cognitive decline that comes secondary to chemotherapy treatment. Now, I'm not exactly looking at the numbers and brain region side of that. I'm actually looking at awareness of chemobrain by race in breast cancer patients, and that's pretty much the gist of it.
It's amazing. Thank you very much. And the next is Adam Malowski. Adam, I've known your parents for a very long time as well. Susan and I were, I guess, across the table, but on the same side on some issues. And your dad I have known almost equally long on various ecological issues, environmental issues. Very proud of you as well. I've known you since you were quite small, and you've gotten quite tall actually this year, so it's amazing. So in honor of Adam Malowski, the first two whereases are the same, so I won't read them. The third one is whereas Adam Malowski has been named an Intel Science Talent Search semifinalist for his project entitled MAPT is associated with increased clinical and neuropathological severity of chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Thank you. Focused on chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, and the effects of the different forms of the MAPT gene on the severity of CTE under the mentorship of Dr. John F. Crary. And whereas this is an achievement that requires intelligence, determination, hard work, and commitment, and we wish to recognize this outstanding young man. Now, therefore, I, William R. Hanauer, Mayor of the Village of Ossining, on behalf of the Board of Trustees and residents of the village, do hereby congratulate Adam Malowski and urge all of our residents to join us in honoring him and do proclaim Friday, January 17th, 2014, as Adam Malowski Day in the Village of Ossining, and urge all of our residents to join in celebrating him. Do you want to tell us a little bit?
Might as well. So my project, not sure if a lot of people in here are aware of the most recent concussion epidemic among high contact sports, among the professional and even high school levels, and even actually in some cases elementary, middle school. Most prominent in football, hockey, boxing, and the head trauma these players receive ultimately often leads to this neurodegenerative disease that I studied, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. So for a long time, as long as CTE's been really recognized as a significant disease in the country for the past 20 years or so, CTE was thought only to result from head trauma. But I examined the MAPT gene that is mentioned in my title to see if a certain form of that gene had any effect on the severity or onset of the disease, and I found that the H1 form of the MAPT gene led to an increased severity of the CTE. And yeah, very much it.
How did you get interested in that specific field?
It's interesting, actually. Dave Dewerson, one of the football players that suffered from CTE, and around a couple of years ago, I was watching SportsCenter, normal afternoon, and on SportsCenter comes on that Dewerson shot himself in the chest specifically to avoid damaging his brain, with a little note that read, please see to it that my brain is given to the NFL Brain Bank for examination for any possible long-term brain damage. So, I was, shocked at the fact that, a sport, football, which I love and, big fan, parents would never let me play, but, but yeah, I was shocked that they could have these effects and cause, Dewerson and, numerous other players to, commit suicide and develop these other horrible symptoms associated with CTE.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. And last, Caitlin, come up and join me. This is Caitlin Picarillo Stasser. And I have known your father for a long time, too. And for those of you out there who do not know him, Angelo Picarillo is one of the two people who lead the team that leads these young people into their fields. They dedicate significant portions of their lives, and I thank you for doing that and congratulate you on your daughter here. So this one is for you, and I've known you for a while also. This is well, I'm going to skip all of the first part. Whereas Caitlin Picarillo-Stasser has been named an Intel Science Talent Search semifinalist for her project entitled The Evolution and Function of the Fruitful Gene in the Nightshade Family. Fill in the name.
Solanaceae.
Thank you. Under the mentorship of Dr. Amy Litt, and whereas this is an achievement that requires intelligent determination, hard work, and commitment, and we wish to recognize this outstanding young woman. Now, therefore, I, William R. Hanauer, Mayor of the Village of Ossining, on behalf of the Board of Trustees and residents of the village, do hereby congratulate Caitlin Picarillo-Stasser and urge all of our residents to join in honoring her and do proclaim Saturday, January 18th, 2014 is Caitlin Picarillo-Stasser Day in the Village of Ossining, and urge all of our residents to join in celebrating this day. Congratulations.
All right, well, thank you first. I guess I'll go on and explain my project, hopefully in the easiest way possible. So basically what I did, I looked at, like my project says, the evolution of this gene called Fruitful, which is a gene that is known to play an important role in fruit development in angiosperms, or flowering plants. And I wanted to see how this gene played a role in the development of two different fruit types. There's a dry fruit, which is really thin and hard and cannot be eaten, versus a fleshy fruit, which has a thick and soft fruit wall, like a tomato, eggplant, pepper, and we can obviously eat these fruits. So I wanted to find out the genetic reasons for this evolution between dry fruits to fleshy fruits, and I investigated it specifically in the Solanaceae family. I guess my research applications probably aren't as easy to see as Abby's with breast cancer patients and Adam's with head trauma. And I guess you can say that genetic modification is very controversial, but there's a possible way to, if we know the genetic reasons for developing fleshy fruits, we can possibly make fruits longer lasting, more sustainable, and for this growing population, it's one of the possibilities for increasing food production and getting food out to more people that can last longer.
Thank you very much. And there's one more person I want to recognize in the house today, and that is the principal of Ossining High School, Joshua Mandel, who is instrumental in making sure this program continues and flourishes. So thank you very much for the honor that all of you do to our village. And you are encouraged to stay for the next hour and a half or so, or for the board meeting.
Move on to mayors and trustees announcements.
Well, I'm going to start with the state of the village as of January 2014. Welcome to the third century of Ossining as a chartered corporate village. In 2013, thanks to the Bicentennial Committee, our village staff, and supporting patrons, angels, and not-for-profits, we brought residents together to enjoy an amazing variety of exhibits, events, and activities. All of these inspired acclaim in the media, especially in the Journal News and the New York Times. And that coverage drew visitors from all over the region from New York City, even from Europe and Latin America and Asia. They ate in our downtown restaurants, shopped in our stores, enjoyed a spectacular waterfront, and hiked Riverwalk through the Edwin M. Wheeler Krawbucky Nature Preserve. And to kick off Harbor Fest in September, Ossining Matters moved its annual 5K race to the waterfront. Following a day of sales, lectures, concerts, and exhibits, and fireworks climaxed the evening. After the enormous success of Ossining in 3D, our 6-month outdoor sculpture exhibit, we were able to keep 3 sculptures, thanks to the private fundraising of the committee for one sculpture, the funding private purchase of another, and the donation of a third by the sculptor. This spring, I am proposing to reestablish our Public Arts Committee, which has had 2 iterations in the past, once I believe in the 80s, and more recently about 6 years ago. With the cooperation of Historic Hudson River Towns, of which I'm the Secretary-Treasurer, we will look at presenting another Harbor Fest or other events that our residents and merchants can proudly share with the larger community. Ability to have these events and celebrations depends on a strong financial base, one that does not burden current taxpayers. To accomplish this, we need new businesses and residents throughout the village. 2013 was a groundbreaking year, literally. Avalon on Hudson, near the north end of Highland Avenue, began to build 151 luxury and 17 affordable apartments, as well as 10,000 square feet of commercial space. They began it in last spring. They are already accepting applications from potential renters, projected to be primarily young professionals and retirees. And Avalon will bring benefit to the entire community by also contributing more paths of Riverwalk through the 8.5 acres they have given us, restoring and adaptively reusing the historic cane house on the Croton Aqueduct, as well as contributing significant recreation fees and constructing a new sewer main. Look for the grand opening in the near future. Applications for the affordable units are currently being accepted. When the worst of winter is over, we expect Harbor Square to finally begin construction. It, too, will not only benefit its residents and diners at the restaurant, but the developer will build and maintain a park and other park-like space on the waterfront, providing greater access for everyone to water-related activities. An arch across the path welcoming ferry passengers to Ossining, and a sculpture honoring our volunteer fire department, a replica of the one erected in our sister village in Portugal, Alejo, in honor of its volunteers. Harbor Square will also contribute $400,000 to the Downtown Development Fund and construct a new water main the length of Snowden Avenue to improve water quality and provide greater pressure for firefighting should the need arise. The development is about to begin compacting and raising the level of ground on which it will build the restaurant. So if you hear for the next month a lot of pounding on the waterfront, that's what it's all about. The 51 all-affordable unit building on the corner of State and Academy Streets opened in 2013 with space for businesses on the ground floor, as did a new subsidized 6-unit building from IFCA on Spring Street. On Main Street, the Vaza Spa opened in the former Bank and Trust, Ossining Bank and Trust, in a space that's been vacant since the 1960s. A few doors down, where Lisboa de Noite and Isabella once were, a new fish restaurant is under construction, and the former A.L. Myers building is being restored and converted to another restaurant under 2 living lofts. The Stag Group has begun to build a restaurant, a commercial space, and a market rate and affordable apartments on the old We Can Do It lot which has been a parking lot since the disastrous fire of 1995. And with our recent landmarking of Robinson Smith House at the foot of Broad Avenue and the Brandreth Pill Factory on the Water Street extension, we have pretty much ensured that any development of these properties will include adaptive reuse of these historic and iconic buildings. The Village Board is considering developing the downtown parking lots and Market Square after a joint meeting of the Village and Planning and Zoning Board of Appeals, in which architectural aesthetics was the major agenda item, and 2 more meetings with Joe Clark, the chair of the Planning Board. We will propose new guidelines to quality elements of architecture for the use of potential developers of those and other sites. And in part, to make that development possible by providing for displaced parking, I am negotiating the return of the underused post office parking lot on State Street and St. Paul's Place from the U.S. Postal Service in to village ownership. But before we determine the future of downtown, there will be plenty of opportunity for the public to comment about choices in development and or whether we should develop it at all. The Board of Trustees is also, but I think we should, I should add that there. The Board of Trustees is also considering over 50 issues to rank as priorities for this year. Among those not already mentioned are changing Spring Street to 2 ways from Maple Place to Main Street, which will start, I think, in March. Calming traffic on streets in residential neighborhoods and major arteries, improving safety for pedestrians and bike riders, considering once again the provision of police and sanitation service to the town of Ossining, as well as the streamlining of the process for the submission of applications, documents, architectural design drawings, and payments, all of which to be submitted electronically and more efficiently. This will be a year of increased efforts to retrofit government buildings, homes, and businesses in order to lower our carbon footprint and our energy bills. We shall investigate aggregate purchase of energy and the installation of solar panels, wind turbines, and LED streetlights. For the 8th year in a row, I am pleased to report that our village begins the year in excellent fiscal condition and has retained our extremely high Moody's rating of AA2. In 2013, we even experienced a slight increase in total assessed value, but in 2014, we will experience a much larger increase as we see new residences and commercial establishments come online. I will be working with Congresswoman Nita Lowey on priorities for this congressional session, and as president of the Westchester Municipal Officials and a member of the New York Conference of Mayors, with Assemblywoman Galeff, Senator Carlucci, and the entire Westchester delegation on state issues that will impact the village, including increases in state aid to municipalities and highway funding, the prohibition of unfunded state mandates, and the repeal of the MTA tax on local municipalities. With the school district, the PTSA, and the New York State Allies for Public Education, we will lobby to restore the state foundation aid formula frozen at 2007 levels, which has deprived the Ossining School District of $35 million since 2008, and lobby for an act to prohibit third-party vendors from accessing students' personal information without parental consent. Most immediately, the 2 organizations, WMOA and NICOM, are fighting for an exemption from the 2% cap on increases to property taxes of the total of municipal contributions to state employee pension funds, and for the investment that villages or other municipalities must make for water quality, sanitation, and stormwater sewer improvements. WMOA will also back the Clean Water, Clean Air, Clean Jobs Act. if exempted from the 2% cap. The village will benefit from these last two as we are working to renovate the Indian Brook Reservoir Dam and other projects. The Sing Sing Museum, the Sing Sing Prison Museum has found new energy thanks to Assemblywoman Galiff, Senator Carlucci, and to a renewed private funding effort. And the possibility again exists that there will someday be a three-bay firehouse on Snowden Avenue. As I have frequently said, a municipal government's primary duty is to provide the safety and security of its residents and merchants, and that such security includes not only an excellent economy, a constantly improving infrastructure, and safe water, but also providing the finest first responder services possible: police, ambulance, Coast Guard auxiliary, and fire, for which Ossining remains the envy of all municipalities in the state. So again, I wish everyone a happy, healthy, prosperous, and productive new year. Throughout the year ahead, let us not forget the message of the season which has just passed. Please continue to support Ossining's safety net organizations, among which are the Open Door, which provides affordable health care for all, Ossining Communities That Care, on whose board I participate, which fights underage drinking, drug abuse, and bullying, Ossining Matters, which raises funds to enrich the educational experience provided by the schools, Family Ties of Westchester, which provides advocacy and support services to families of children with social, emotional, and behavioral difficulties. And since children cannot learn on empty stomachs, please continue to support the Ossining Food Pantry. Though admittedly long, this is but a sampling of the work that the board, the manager, the department heads, and all of our dedicated and talented employees perform. I present it with great pride in our accomplishments and hope and determination for the future. So, a couple more announcements. On Saturday, January 18th at 3 p.m. at the Star of Bethlehem Baptist Church, the Cooperative Scholarship Fund will host its annual Martin Luther King Memorial event to raise money for college scholarships. This year, they will also honor members of the community who've, as we did earlier today, given great participation and great contribution to the community. So this year, they will honor Alice Joselo, former chair of the Ossining Board of Education and director of Ossining Communities That Care; Felix Flores, retired longtime principal of Claremont School; and Kendall McFarland, guidance counselor at Ossining High School. There will be music and refreshments will be served. Please plan to join us. And on Sunday, January 19th at 7:30 p.m., the annual Martin Luther King Memorial Service, the ecumenical service, will also be held at Star of Bethlehem Church. Everyone is invited, and I encourage you to join us in this really stirring event. Avalon, as I said earlier, is accepting applications for affordable housing units. Avalon is at 217 North Highland Avenue, Ossining, New York. The open enrollment period has only 3 days left. It ends on the 18th. So to be included in the lottery, applications must be received or postmarked by the 18th. Applications can be picked up at the Village of Ossining Planning Department, at the John Paul Rodriguez Ossining Operations Center, 101 Route 9A, Ossining, or at IFCA, 138 Spring Street, Ossining, or applications must be submitted in person or via mail to Avalon Green, attention, Avalon Ossining Lottery, 500 Town Green Drive, Elmsford, New York, 10523. The maximum household income for the affordable units is 80% of area median income, which means for one person, $58,400, For 2 persons, $66,750. For a 3-person household, $75,100. For a 4-person household, $83,400. And a 5-person household, $90,100. A 6-person household, $96,750. The monthly rents are $1,442 for a 1-bedroom, $1,722 for a 2-bedroom, and $1,983 for a 3-bedroom. Avalon residents are also responsible for gas, electric, water and sewer, phone, and cable utilities. Additional fees may also be charged if you have pets or for garage parking. There is also parking outside. IFCA Housing Network is also accepting applications for 1 newly renovated apartment in the village under the village's affordable housing program. It's a 500 square foot, never mind, I've just been told this is no longer the case. So that's been cut off. So, that's it. Anyone else?
Of course.
I thought.
I'll remind everybody, especially in these cold nights, my friend John Codman can attest, I imagine your home is much more comfortable this year than it has been in some years past, thanks to the Energize program. And if you would like to find out about a little bit about how your home works and how it might be more affordable and use less energy and a lot more comfortable, visit energizeossining.org. And I encourage you to go ahead and visit that anytime. And if you go there and you think, gosh, I'd love to talk to a person and face-to-face, then in 3 weeks from tomorrow, Thursday, February 6th, from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock will be library assistance hour. So somebody from the Energize team will be there in person if you'd like to ask questions. And, you know, if you get stuck in the process, it's pretty straightforward, but sometimes it helps to talk to a human being. And also at the Ossining Library, please join us tomorrow at 6:30 in the Bedars Theater at the library. The Ossining Documentary and Discussion Series will have its this month. We're screening Bully, which is a documentary about just what you might think, bullying in schools, and how do schools and how do communities and how do parents, how does society respond to that and prevent it. It's a really challenging and powerful film. We encourage anyone middle school age or older to attend, and we're going to have a really compelling discussion afterwards with some panelists who are experts in the field, as well as a young man who is now in college and has a little bit of perspective on his experience as a victim of this form of abuse, bullying in schools when he was growing up. So please join us 6:30 at the Ossining Public Library, Thursday, January 16th. Oh, and I just want to make a calendar note. I'm sure that Mayor Hanauer would have mentioned it. Next week, we are Wednesdays now, except next week. Our work session will be on Tuesday the 21st, I believe, at 16 Croton Avenue. So otherwise, it'll be Wednesday for the rest of the year.
Thank you. John?
Yes, I'm going to be really short. I just want to wish everybody in Ossining a Happy New Year. I know it's a little late, but never too late to wish all our residents a better year than 2013. So thank you for everything, and any questions, contact us, or any requirements or problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
We'll move on to Village Historian Report. Deborah Van Steen.
This is a once-a-year function of the village historian, so welcome, Deborah.
Thank you. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Mayor Hanauer, trustees, village manager. This year begins with final preparation. My start of this year began with final preparations for the Village Bicentennial celebrations. As with many others, it was a continuation of the work that we had started the previous year. And in addition to my article on residential architecture, I provided one on the old Croton Aqueduct and continue to review materials supplied by others. As before, many thanks to town historian Martha Nassetti for leading the publication of the journal. Early this year, I assisted another fellow history enthusiast here in town, Miguel Hernandez, with a National Register nomination for Dale Cemetery. The cemetery, which is partly in the village and in the town of Ossining, is a good example of a mid-19th century cemetery designed in the rural landscape tradition by noted architect and landscape designer Howard Daniels. As part of the National Register nomination, I photographed the cemetery to National Register standards and submitted photographs to the State Historic Preservation Office for their selection and approval, provided historic images of the cemetery. I wrote the historic context for funerary art, founded the cemetery, assessed contributing and non-contributing structures, provided citations for the document. The National Register is an inventory of historically significant properties throughout our nation. Although Dale Cemetery is owned and operated by the town, a portion of it is within the boundaries of the village, and it has historically been associated with our village. By 1850, a proper and tastefully laid out cemetery located beyond a village or a city center was essential for any town of note. The rural cemetery represented the juxtaposition between urban and renewal, and between death and idealized reflections of life. The rural cemetery movement was also the precursor to the urban park, and the State Historic Preservation Office finalized the application and had it completed and forwarded to the keeper of the National Register in March of 2013, and the cemetery was approved and listed on the National Register in July of 2013. In May of this year, the Ossining Historical Society held their Ellis Place Heritage Tour. I was asked to provide an introduction for the tour booklet, which was prepared by Dana White. I also had the opportunity to meet with her and preview a couple of houses prior to the tour. I always enjoy exploring. As a member of the Historic Preservation Commission, I'm working with the committee chair and our other committee members to put together text and images for interpretive heritage signage planned for the village center. The interpretive signage will follow the historic downtown tour that we previously produced. As the history that we embrace is often that which is most clearly evident and noticeably historical. Events of the 18th and 19th centuries, war, and here in Ossining, our prison. Our 20th century history deserves a more critical eye, and particularly things that don't always come before us. In conjunction with the Ossining Historical Society, I'm looking into creating a collection of digital images of the village during the 1930s. Village resident Robert Gowan filmed the village during the Depression and created a valuable resource that few rarely see. Gowan was a pioneer radio engineer, and in 1928 he began production of 16mm documentary, educational, and industrial motion pictures, and he won an award for several of his films. Creation of the photo collection would greatly add to the resource material available to us and our understanding of the changes in the village during the 20th century. And at one point, he just drove up and down the streets in the late 30s just to show and document how the village had changed in the years during the Depression. It's really wonderful. I hope to work with local organizations to further understanding of their history and buildings. I have begun some of the research involved and hope to add to the research topics that I have been compiling over the years. As always, I find the exploration of history, its people, events, and buildings, a wondrous adventure, and I am thankful for the opportunity to explore and share with others. Respectfully for submitted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A question about the Gowan films. Is that going to ever be available for the public to look at?
We had years ago had the the film reel transposed to VCR tape, and then I believe when I was there with Roberta, we took those and we had them transferred to CD, DVD tapes. But they're not always well cataloged, and a lot of people aren't aware of some of the treasures that are there. The thing is that they're not very usable in that form. You can just watch it, but you can't really focus on the actual images that make up those films. And so if I take one of the reels and I send it out to a specialty house, I can actually, they will actually extract image files of each one of the frames that makes up those reels. And it's amazing what you see when you stop it frame by frame. Years ago, we used to have to take and basically cut and paste them, take them to a specialty camera place and have them shot from the negatives, and the negatives taken out or isolated and reproduced more with wet photography. Nowadays, we can do it digitally, and they can actually, my understanding is, just run the whole film through and come out with those images as JPEG or TIFF files, and then they would be very usable.
And that hasn't been done yet, but we do have the original film, so we have
I have
the
the
source
original
material to do
film,
that.
and I'm as with a lot of media that we have in the 20th century, and even things as simple as newspapers, the material that they're made out of degrades sometimes more quickly than we would like. Mm-hmm. And the idea is to hopefully capture them in this form while they're still in fairly good condition. I know that they're delicate to a certain extent, but I think this is doable.
Are they nitrate film?
I do not think so, because those are a problem, and a lot of places threw those out.
Yes.
For a number of reasons.
Yes.
And unfortunately, large state repositories even threw them out without capturing the images that were there, without any regard for what was being lost. Yeah.
You used a term early on about contributing and non-contributing features of the cemetery. Some people may understand what that means, but I think the television audience may not. So.
Oh, okay. When you do a National Register nomination for, or you do eligibility of a district, an area that has multiple resources, you call out those features that best characterize what's important historically, architecturally, to that particular district, and those are considered contributing features. They're what are important to making that, to giving it its historic presence. And non-contributing features are things that would have been added that do not fit that context, do not support the history of the place in terms of its National Register eligibility.
Anyone else have a question?
I'd just like to thank you for everything that you've done and all the work that you do and your passion. A lot of, I'm not born and raised here, but the longer I'm here, the more I learn and the richer I begin to understand the history of Ossining, where it's been and where we are now and really where we're going to go. So thanks for taking us into the past and preserving those precious things. Thank you.
I get to do far less than I would like. I would like to add also, you mentioned the Ossining Prison Project, which I was a part of years ago, and probably have some helpful goodies.
Okay.
Should you
Let us
wish
talk
to
about
reach
this,
out.
because there will be a meeting on the 30th.
Okay, who do I ask?
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I think it's really important that you come and make these reports, because I don't know that everyone in the village understands all of the various things that people do. And and know the various people who do them. We have made a great effort in saving historic properties in the last few years, and this is very much thanks to you and the committee.
Well, thank you.
You.
Thank you, Deborah.
So, Madam Clerk?
We just
You're
have the
ready?
historian. Right down here. Okay. Thank you very much. We will now move on to administrative reports, and we'll begin with Village Manager Richard Lyons.
Good evening. Thank you. Excuse me. With the change of the meeting date from Tuesday to Wednesday, we've been trying to adjust the schedule to make sure that all the information is provided to the board and shared on the internet, so everybody has a pretty good heads up in terms of what's going to be discussed at an upcoming meeting or ultimately a work session. I wanted to speak to one. It was a late starter resolution, which is Resolution E, the Westchester County Hazard Mitigation Plan. As is often the case, we receive very late notice in terms of what's now become sort of the standard mode, which is short deadline dates. Last week we were notified by the county that there was a deadline coming up that they wanted to see indication of interest by the community in becoming, indicating an intent to become part of the county mitigation, countywide hazard mitigation plan. In 2002, the Village of Ossining indicated its interest in joining in the countywide hazard mitigation plan. The primary purpose of this planning project was to identify community policies, actions, and tools for implementation over the long term, resulting in reduction of risk and potential for future losses as a result of the natural and technological hazards. The project will be managed by the County Office of Emergency Management and the Department of Planning. The federal government has indicated that in order to be successful in grant applications, that a community has to be a part of a hazard mitigation plan. New York State has indicated it will no longer fund single jurisdiction plans or updates, and therefore the interest in joining a countywide plan, which would be looking after all the interests. This countywide proposal meets the requirements of the Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000, which mandates that all states and local governments must have hazard mitigation plans approved by the Federal Emergency Management Agency to be eligible for certain types of federal disaster mitigation funding. In this particular instance, the board is aware, I know, and the public should be aware that the Village of Ossining has a very significant project underway at the Indian Brook water treatment plant to comply with DEC regulations of the state of New York, which will require significant work out there in connection with ensuring dam stabilization and water overflow, I should say. And as part of that, the village has submitted a grant for part of the costs for the Indian Brook plant dam upgrades. And as part of that application, the village indicated that, in fact, it was a part of the Westchester County Hazard Mitigation Plan as it develops. So in order to, we're hopeful that we will be successful under that grant application. We will hear later on in the year. We understand before September. But, you know, all things being good, we're hopeful to receive that funding. And with the participation with the County of Westchester in this county-wide mitigation plan, it will ensure that we've met the FEMA requirements for eligibility. So I wanted to summarize that for you because it was a late starter, but we thought it was important to try to keep it going so we would meet any deadline. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to Police Chief Joseph Burton. Oh, I did. I'm terribly sorry.
Right over this one? No. Okay, thank you. Okay, evening. Monthly statistics for December 2013. Water entries, 2,300. Vehicle and traffic summonses issued, 167. Parking summonses, 645. Part 1 of uniform crime reports were 16. Excuse me. Arrests for the month were 53. 38 penal law, 2 village ordinances, and 12 vehicle and traffic. Just to summarize some of the 213 activities, blotter entries for the year were 27,858, which included types like alarms, 798, medical aids, 1,593, motor vehicle accidents, 731, park and walks, which is part of our community policing, 7,682, school safety checks, which is something we've been doing for years, well before it became trendy, I guess. I hate to use that word, but we were doing it for where police officers during their tour randomly every school and every nursery school, daycare center in Ossining. So during the year we visited 1,026. Part 1 crimes uniform crime reports for the year were 288. Arrests were 863. Vehicle traffic summonses issued were 2,221. Parking summonses issued 11,901. And just for your own edification, 911 calls received 5,733. Other phone calls received in the department under the recorded lines were 38,118. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go back to Corporation Counsel Lori Lee Dixon, and I do apologize.
Thank you. And I'll take this opportunity to wish you Happy New Year. I apologize for missing the reorg meeting. I had good reason. I went home to visit family, so I took a few days as it's an 8-hour drive each direction. So I appreciate the opportunity and the vote of support in the reappointment. And I thank you for your continued support of me in this position as Corporation Counsel. I'm coming up on the 3rd-year anniversary, and I'm feeling like I'm starting to settle in, which is always dangerous because every time I seem to hit the office, there are a few fires to put out before I get to the to-do list. But we are moving through the mountains of matters. I have to say I'm seeing the way clear to some of the earmarked pieces of legislation that each of you has asked me to review, and I have sent out a call region-wide to colleagues and friends looking for qualified applicants for the intern in my office, and I'm very excited to have the opportunity to bring some in to assist us moving forward with some of the research that will be necessary in the coming years. In the coming year, as you have prioritized some legislation for us to look forward to. So I wanted to thank you for your continued support. And there is just one item, which is certiorari payment. It does have a minor thing. It has a 90-day turnaround, and usually that says 60 days, but I wanted to point that out because it's a bit unusual. But the court order came in with 90 days, giving us 90 days to move forward. So I put it on for this evening and for action, so we can meet that obligation. But it is a certiorari, and they're settled as a matter of course by the town and the town attorney and town assessor. So it is a matter of moving forward on that, and we put it on this evening. But because it has that unusual 90 days, I just wanted to point that out, that it's not a typo, that the court order mentioned 90 days. So we have 90 days. So
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That should happen more often.
Yes.
Village Engineer Paul Fraioli.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. Happy New Year.
Good evening.
A lot of my end-of-year numbers usually lag, as you know, into January and February. I usually don't like to present them until they're certified by the appropriate entities, i.e. Westchester County solid waste reports being bundled this month, where we report to our regulatory agency. Once they certify, we'll report those. Same goes for the CHIPS reimbursement money. Usually we don't really talk about the final numbers until the state reconciles the end of the year contribution that they're going to make in the fourth quarter of that payment. But every year since I've been here, exceeded it to the adjustment they make for fuel surcharges, et cetera, for the maintenance of the state roads. And then the county road, too, we have a similar agreement. So I'll bring that and some other numbers forth probably in the next month or so. 2 significant snow events and then some sporadic ice events we've had since the new year have been handled without incident, or a major incident at least. So that's nice to see, and the equipment's functioning well. Segueing into equipment, the drawdown that I think I referenced once earlier in a presentation for that recycling equipment grant that we put in some time ago, it has formally been accepted, and now we just have to do the drawdown from the state. So that's being processed by the Treasurer's office, so we should expect that money probably within a month or so, which is good timing because that's right around the time I'm going to be presenting capital druthers to see if we can execute some of those purchases in our 2014 capital plan. Some of the capital construction projects going on right now that we see are the Lower Main and Secor Road. We are working through the winter. We'd like to finish that. As you can see, they're putting the finishing touches on the railing, and I've communicated with Con Ed as recently, about an hour and a half ago, try to get those lights energized down Secor Road so everything is contiguous, decorative lighting all the way down to the train station. So let's just say within 2 weeks, hope to see those lights energized. We also did some repair work on the lights down around the square down in the bottom. The railing should be done probably in about a week or so. That's taking a little longer because of it, but it will get done. The Kilbrook project is well underway, and that's also going along without incident. And concurrent with that, we're working with procurement of the access agreements that we said we were going to our best to expand on the existing easement there to make it accessible to the public. So we're working with Dixon on that effort, and we feel comfortable that we're going to have everything we need to have in place well before completion of the actual walk that is hopefully be the public access path. The aforementioned in your mayor's address, two-way Spring Street investigation, working with planning and the manager's office to do a pilot program there. So assistance from experts, that type of a plan as such, and we look to have that in front of you, execution and hopeful implementation of that program, as you said, spring. The annual bids are going to be coming forth soon. We've streamlined that a little bit because of how we've kind of expanded the procurement policy. The annual bids aren't maybe as necessary as they used to be, and with some material and supply lines, buy those with our procurement policy just as easily and maybe a little more expeditiously. So we're kind of streamlining that process a little bit, but they'll be coming in front of you within a month or so. And that's it for this evening.
Any questions?
No, thanks.
Thank you, Paul.
Superintendent of Water and Sewers, Andrew Teese.
Good evening. Happy New Year.
Evening.
Hello.
Well, our reservoir is in good shape. It's 99% full.
It was 100% full earlier today. How did that happen?
And and last month we were 97% full. And currently we're purchasing 45% of our water from New York City. Last month we were purchasing 65%, so it's a big savings. Pleasantville Road Generator Project is 95% complete. All electrical work is complete. Con Ed was on site this week to complete the remaining gas work. They experienced infrastructure issues with the gas tie-in. So basically they're going to call their engineering section up, redesign the service hookup. The village manager is working with the Con Ed liaison to try and make that process faster. And in the last, normally I talk about the distribution field reports for the last month. I'm just going to talk about the last 2 weeks because of the weather. Normally, we have probably 15 water breaks in a year. Last 2 weeks, we had 10 water breaks. Frozen water meters, 7. Broken pipes in houses, we had 12. Most of these houses with the broken pipes, the basements have filled up to capacity. Normally, this time of year, the plant puts out about 3.2 million gallons a day. 2 weeks ago, we were putting out almost 4 million gallons a day. So there was that much water in leakage. But we've got it under control. As of today, it's down to 3.3, so. Beth, thanks.
It's a relief to hear that we're back down.
It was bad.
And hope that the
Weather
weather
was
doesn't
just,
get
you know.
bad again. Thank you, Andy.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Treasurer Thomas Warren.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Board of Trustees. I, too, would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank Village Manager Richard Lyons for another 3-year appointment, and to the Board of Trustees for unanimous ratification of that appointment. Thank you. With the new year upon us, I have this friendly reminder for the payment and collection of village property taxes. The first installment of 2014 village property taxes is due this month by January 31st without penalty. Tax payments may be made in person at the municipal building, 16 Croton Avenue, 2nd floor, Monday through Friday, 9 to 4:30. Also by mail or by the village's website, villageofossining.org. And anybody can call the Finance Department at 941-2581 if they have any questions about their property tax bill. Also, as the 2013 fiscal year comes to an end, unpaid 2013 property taxes stand at $360,788, which is comparable to the percentage as of the end of 2012, and is, although it seems like a high amount, it actually represents only 1.75% of the entire tax roll. So we have a very high tax collection rate of 98.25%, which is, as I said, comparable to the percentage last year. We are still collecting 2013 and prior year property tax liens through monthly letters. We will begin another year of the in-rem enforcement of tax liens this year. We also are collecting the unpaid tax liens, which are prior year taxes, and specifically we're referring to 2012 and 11. Right now, the balance is about $291,000, which, you know, dollar-wise, is about $125,000 more than the amount a year ago, and primarily represents unpaid 2012 taxes for Ossining land parcels. And as I talk about every year, we always have to wait 60 days into the fiscal year to look at property tax collections in order to determine how much gets set aside as the deferred and uncollectible taxes. But if these taxes aren't collected within the 60 days, the result would be that current year property tax revenues for 2013 would be about $150,000 less than the amount that was budgeted in the budget, although we did set aside a small amount for possible tax overlay. And we always ultimately end up collecting our property taxes. So some years we collect more than what was called for in the budget because of collection of prior year taxes. Sometimes it's less. That's just the way it happens. Because we didn't have a monthly report for December, I did want to talk about the mortgage tax revenues. The village did receive the second half mortgage tax revenue in mid-December. The village's share was $122,976, bringing our 2013 revenue amount to $225,996, which was about $76,000 more than budgeted, and it also represents almost 22% more than the amount received for 2012. And in fact, for each of the years 2010 through 2012, each year was about $185,000. So this was significantly more than the amount received for the prior 3 years. Although it was, and it was also a bit more than the amount in 2009, which was basically the start of when things started to impact us financially with the recession, but certainly less than the good years in 2008 and prior. Also, as we were discussing during our budget discussions during November, we have seen several of our departments for the village have revenues coming in higher than the amount estimated in the budget. And now that the fiscal year is over and we're recording our year-end accruals, we'll have a better idea next month as to where we stand in terms of fiscal year 2013 revenues as a whole. 2013 was also another good year for the village. We had a very successful and good news audit that confirmed an improved financial position for the village as of the end of 2012. In November, as the mayor had noted, Moody's Investor Services had reconfirmed the village's very high credit rating of AA2 on new and existing debt, and reconfirmed the top rating of MIG1 on the bond anticipation note, which was followed by a successful sale of the bonds and notes for capital improvements. For 2014, we are underway with proposed improved customer services, which will include the ability to accept credit card payments in the finance department and on the internet to pay property taxes, water, sewer bills, and also departmental fees. And we are also working with the bank to allow for the electronic deposit of checks. And finally, the finance department is now receiving and processing the hardship parking exemption applications, which some refer to the overnight parking applications. The new application form is on the website and is available in the clerk's office, the finance department, the police department, and the town court. But the new procedure is that the applications are being submitted directly to the finance department.
Well, I'm glad you've taken back the overnight parking application. Thank you for doing that, and thank you for this report. It sounds like good news.
All the time. Thank you.
More good news.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Director of Code Enforcement, Al Sirocco.
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Trustees. Happy New Year to everyone. I have the activity report for the end of 2013. New complaints this month, December, was 63. Complaints closed were 30. Total complaints year-to-date, year ending, I should say, is 801. Notice of violations were 24. Violations closed, 47. Year ending total were 375. We had 11 court appearance tickets issued. 10 were closed in the month of December, and total court appearance tickets issued during 2013 were 84. Court fines assessed this month in December was $6,600. Year ending court fines was $81,375. Building permits, we had 23, fee totaling $6,545. Year-ending permits, we had 360. Total fee, $224,495. Certificates of occupancy, we had 27 issued. Year-ending total, 263. Final cost affidavit fees for this month was $2,007. Year-ending fee totaling was $7,286. We had 14 plumbing permits, fee totaling $880. Year-ending 280 permits with a fee total of $23,785. Electrical permits 17, fee totaling $1,770. Year-ending 270 permits, fee totaling $25,609. Backflow applications received this December was 2, fee totaling $200. Year-ending backflow permits were 67, fee totaling $6,650. Year-ending title searches, we had a total of 317 searches, fee totaling $19,920. Predate inspections, 16. Year-ending fee total was $2,080. Sign permits, we had 16 with a total amount of $960. Overnight parking inspections, we had 14, year-ending total $556. Section 8 inspections, 25, year-ending total $339. Fire assembly inspections, 17, year-ending total $154. Building and plumbing inspections, 105. Year-ending total $1,397. Plan reviews for building, predate, application backflow, tree, and sign permits, year-ending total 517 reviews. That ends the activity report, but with a reminder, all property owners are required by New York State Code to provide all their tenants with a minimum temperature of 68 degrees at all times from September 15th through May 31st. If anyone does have a heat complaint, please call the building department at 941-3199 during office hours, which are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And if after hours, please call the police department at 941-4099. Thank you, everyone, and once again, have a Happy New Year. I don't have an exact number there, but we have not had many heat complaints, so we've been pretty fortunate. So it's been pretty good. For the most part, the property owners have responded and done a good job. All right.
Village Planner Valerie Monaster.
Good evening. This is also my 2013 year-end summary report. In 2013, the Planning Department worked on many different projects in the Village of Ossining. Below is a summary of the work conducted in 2013, and I wanted to thank village staff and various village board and committee members that have helped us on our projects throughout the year. I also want to thank the Building, Engineering, Water, Corporation Council, Fire, Recreation, Police, Finance, and Village Manager's Office for their technical input on various developments and grant applications throughout the year. As of the end of 2013, the village now has 21 units in its affordable housing program, with another 5 coming online with the construction of 147, 155 Main Street and 103, 105 Croton Avenue. 18 units are now in their application process stage. The by Brandreth, that deadline actually finished on January 8th, and we did receive 6 applications for that. So I am working with IFCA on reviewing the applications, and we'll be hopefully finding a particular tenant shortly. The deadline for the Avalon is, as you mentioned, January 18th, and the lottery will be held on January 27th at 10 a.m. at the John Paul Rodriguez Ossining Operations Center. And then we continue to work with implementing and administering the rest of the village's affordable housing program. In 2013, the village engaged a consultant group to work on the Market Square and Post Office parking lot redevelopment possibilities. The final report will be issued this month, with a final public presentation scheduled for February 12th. The Planning Department also helped coordinate and manage the installation and deinstallation of the Bicentennial Sculpture Exhibit. We coordinated and scheduled monthly public tours and group tours. In total, 21 public tours and 18 school tours were conducted. As of the end of 2013, the Planning Department submitted a total of 3 grants totaling $2.8 million in funding requests. And in 2014, our office will be busy administering at least 3 grants for this year, which will include the construction of the Harbor Square Promenade Park, Village of Ossining dock design, as well as the Museum in the Street signage program. The Planning Department reviewed 168 building permits last year for zoning code and zoning and planning board approval compliance. We also coordinated documentation during the building permit process for conditions formalized in the site plan approval. In addition, the Planning Department also processed 69 land use board and commission applications and is overseeing 3 environmental impact statements. The Planning Board and Board of Architectural Review consists of 7 members, whose chair is Joseph Clark. The Planning Board and Board of Architectural Review reviewed 36 new applications in 2013. The Planning Board is currently working on 4 larger projects: 34 State Street, looking to build 188 units with office space; 36 Water Street, looking to build 137 units; Victoria Home, looking to build 96 bedrooms and a new senior living facility; and 173 North Highland Avenue, looking to repurpose 44,500 square feet of retail and construct a new gas station and snack shop. All 4 projects are under various stages of environmental review. In 2013, the Planning Board approved 221 new residential units of construction and the construction of 15,000 square feet of new office and retail space. The Zoning Board of Appeals consists of 5 members, whose chair is James Bowen. Last year, the Zoning Board of Appeals reviewed 24 applications for the village. The Environmental Advisory Council currently consists of 5 members. In 2013, the council reviewed 2 new applications for local waterfront revitalization plan consistency and 2 draft environmental impact statement reviews. The Historic Preservation Commission consists of 7 members, whose chair is Joanne Tall, and the Historic Preservation Commission has worked on in 2013, worked on 7 applications and 1 draft environmental impact statement review. The Commission and the Planning Department worked on locally landmarking 6 properties in 2013, and the Commission is also working on the Museum in the Street signage project, which will be completed in 2014. And so I just wanted to thank all those boards and commissions for all their time and effort that they devote to the Village of Ossining. And then finally, just to touch base on the Westchester County Hazard Mitigation Plan, I just wanted to add a couple more comments. This will just be the beginning of the plan. The plan is going to work through and will work directly with our staff, the engineering, Al, as well as Andy, identifying areas in the village that are prone to flooding, areas, projects that we want to highlight, so that in the future we can apply for additional grant funding.
Have we considered the next phase of CDBG projects? There's been a long discussion about whether or not the county is even going to submit them, but they have decided now that they are going to submit them, or maybe
when the county was speaking about the 2014 projects, we submitted the 2014 projects back in like 2011. So every year they take the yearly projects and say that they're going to submit them to the federal government. Since 2010, every year they submit them, but then the federal government does not fund them. So the following year, though, probably in the spring this year, would be our normal year of looking at the next 3-year cycle. And I think that's when the county is going to decide whether they're even going to move forward with that 3-year cycle.
Actually,
and the village will.
My understanding is they're going to decide that in the next 6 weeks.
Right, and I think then the village will have to make some decisions as well as to what they want to do with the CDBG program. So we'll bring that all back to the village board.
Good.
All right. Yeah.
Great year, Valerie.
Move on to organizational announcements. Is there anyone here?
Good evening. I'm just here to tell everyone to save the date. Our 34th annual Ossining Village Fair is going to be on Saturday, June 14th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. This year you could expect 4 stages, which is one major addition at the top of Main Street. And we are selling booths, I believe we began last week. So for more information, please call 941-0009. Please note that this is the first year in 5 years that rates will go up if you miss our first deadline of April 1st. Sponsorship opportunities are open, so for more information, please visit our website, www.ossiningchamber.org. And also, by the end of this month, our chamber will be releasing a calendar of events from, I believe, January to June. And a special note that I'm going to be emailing the board and the village manager's office is that we'll be having a guest speaker from the Westchester Department of Economic Development and I believe the New York State Department of Industrial Development that will be here to speak to our businesses and our leaders. So
when is that?
that's going to be, I believe, in March. We don't have a date yet, but I'll forward it to you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any other announcements? Okay, we'll move on to Village Board resolutions. Is there anyone who would like to address any of the resolutions? Seeing none, we'll move on to that. Resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austin hereby approves the minutes of the January 2nd, 2014 reorganizational meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstention.
He wasn't here.
Thank you. Resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austin hereby approves the voucher detail report dated January 15th, 2014, in the amount of $1,722,802.95. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Whereas the Village of Ossing ceased being a tax assessing unit in 1989 and now adopts the Town of Ossing assessment roll for the Village of Ossing as prepared by the assessor of the Town of Ossing for all subsequent years, and whereas certain tax certiorari proceedings were instituted against the Town of Ossing by TLC Holding Corporation to review the assessment against petitioner's property situated at 2 Broad Avenue in the Village of Ossing, designated as 97.07 Block 4, Lot 1, which said proceedings recently concluded in the Westchester County Supreme Court under index numbers 26548-10, 57148-11, and 66918-12, resulted in an order which, among other things, directs the Village of Ossing to audit and pay to the petitioner an overpayment of real estate taxes as determined in accordance with the assessments fixed and determined by said proceedings in the total amount of $8,504,000. Oh, I'm sorry. Got carried away with the voucher detail. $8,504.65. Tom, I'm sorry. You probably.
I'm just passing.
Just giving away our money.
I know. Sorry.
There goes my intern.
It's more fully detailed. I didn't even use the pen yet. In Schedule A, whereas any and all refunds of taxes necessitated by said order are to be made without interest if paid within 90 days after service upon the village of a certified copy of said judgment. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossing, upon certification by the village treasurer that all the aforesaid taxes have been paid, hereby authorizes and directs the village treasurer to make the payment of such refund of real property taxes due petitioner Brian C. Straub, Esquire, as attorney, as required by said order. And it is further resolved that the village treasurer shall make a notation in the margin of the assessment rolls of the Village of Ossing that said assessments were reduced and payment of a refund of overpayment of real property taxes was made pursuant to said order. 2010 assessment year, 2011 tax year, tax assessment 167.3942, original assessment 76,900, new assessment 61,000, amount of reduction 15,900, refund $2,661.57. Assessment year 2011, tax year 2012, tax rate of $174.47.99. 76,900 original assessment reduced to 61,000, reduction of $15,900, refund amount $2,774.23. Assessment year 2012, tax year 2013, tax rate 181.6740 with an original assessment of $67,100. Assessment $61,000 with a reduction of $6,100 with a refund of $1,108.21. And the assessment year 2013, tax year 2014, tax rate of 186.9053, original assessment $67,100, new assessment $56,610, reduction amount $10,490 with a refund of $1,960.64 for a total payment of $8,504.65. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved, the Board of Trustees approves water sewer billing credit adjustments for the Sing Sing Correctional Facility as follows. Excuse me. Account number 06-07066,000 Hudson Street meter, water only, billed for 32,405 cubic feet, should have been $3,267 for 100 cubic feet, resulting in a credit adjustment of 29,138 cubic feet for the period of 10/20/2011 to 4/19/2013. Account number 06-0706-7020 Powerhouse meter, billed for 64,897 cubic feet, should have been 6,489 cubic feet, resulting in a credit adjustment of 58,408 cubic feet for the period 8/22/2011 to 4/19/2013. And be it further resolved, the refund amount of said credit adjustments are authorized to be offset against unpaid billed charges for all facility water sewer accounts until the credits are used up as provided in the schedule given to the facility. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board? Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Whereas pursuant to federal regulations, all local governments must have a FEMA-approved hazard mitigation plan in order to be eligible for federal mitigation grant funding for public and private pre-disaster planning, sustainability promotion, and mitigation projects. Whereas Westchester County has been awarded a grant to update the county hazard mitigation plan as a full jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan to include all municipalities with the county's departments of emergency services and planning, leading the effort to coordinate with municipalities about formally participating in this project with the overall goal of strengthening statewide hazard mitigation. And whereas the Village of Ossining intends to participate with the county in their efforts towards a multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor is hereby authorized and directed to execute and forward a letter of intent to the County of Westchester by the January 27, 2014 deadline to commence the planning process for the Village of Ossining to participate in the Westchester County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. On the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Do we have any continuing business on the board?
No, ma'am.
Do we have any new business on the board?
No, ma'am.
Might we then entertain a recess if we have individuals who would like to address the board? Might we then entertain an adjournment? Do I have a motion?
That'll be entertaining.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
This ends this evening's board meeting. We will see you next week. Remind you, please, that Tuesday evening, not Wednesday evening next week, at Village Hall, 16 Croton Avenue at 7:30 on Tuesday. Have a great week.